Amigos y amigas, welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show, an hour-long podcast dedicated to all things Mexican football. We're going to jump right in, have lots and lots to talk about, and we're going to go in with our question of the night. 1 week of regular Liga MX season left. If you could pick the winner as of today, who would it be? We'll start with Mr. Tom Marshall, who is back from traveling the world, looking for answers, doing what he loves best in covering football over. Mr. Tom Marshall back in La Ciudad de Guadalajara. How's it going?
I found no answers to all the questions. Just got back today. Good to be back. Who's gonna win the title? I am going for the winner of the CONCACAF Champions League.
Okay.
That's who I think is going to win it, but I don't know who's going to win the CONCACAF Champions League. I don't know. I think either one of those two teams. I just think that the two of the strongest teams. I know that I've been getting a few messages on Twitter saying why you're not getting excited about Leon, and I think you have to hold your hands up and say they've been absolutely brilliant. I still got this nagging feeling though that they're not going to. They're going to struggle against a Monterrey or against a Tigres over 180 minutes, or even against a Club America. So I think the two Monterrey clubs, the two clubs from Nuevo León. I'm interested in Pachuca. I like at the minute. I'm liking Pachuca.
They're not going to win it, Tom. Pachuca's not going to win.
I don't think so. The thing with Pachuca with Edwin Cardona in this kind of form. I don't know. He's such a talented player. He can win you games, and I don't know. That's what I'm thinking about Pachuca. But I'd say those two, and then you can never write Club America off. It just seems like there's something not quite right over the last couple of weeks. Herrera coming out saying stupid stuff again, and he's kind of gone off the rails. And I don't know. But how can you discount America if they put together a couple of games?
True. So we're going with the Monterrey teams, which is what everybody usually goes for. But Mr. Cesar might have something different there.
Maybe not. It's kind of the same answer, but the exact opposite answer of Tom, if that makes any sense. I'm going to say the loser of the CCL final is the one that ends up lifting the Liga MX title. I feel like the loser will be hungry to compensate for the loss, and I think they're just going to demolish any of their opponents in the playoffs. Once again, like Tom, I still have no idea who's going to win that CCL title. I said the same thing last week. The Mexican Soccer Show is just like, who's gonna like get the win in this first game? I have no idea who's going to win the title. I don't know. I really, really don't know. But I think the loser here, I think the loser here would just have they'll have a lot that they want to compensate for. And I know you can have the arguments about momentum and confidence, but I think when you look at the squad, whether it be Monterrey or Tigres, I think they're just gonna completely bounce back and push for the title there, and they'll feel more compelled to do it.
Don't we can't forget Cruz Azul. Maybe a lot of people, or maybe we can. No, I don't know. Can we?
Forget about it.
What about Puebla, Tom? What about Tijuana, Tom? Come on, no respect for Puebla or Tijuana.
Cruz Azul are arguably the form team right now. I think they're unbeaten in the last 5. Same with Pachuca. But Cruz Azul defensively, they've really got it together. I don't know. They're a team that you're not going to want to play in the quarterfinals. Obviously, if you get to a final, you'll probably fancy your chances of lifting the trophy. But at least until you get to the finals, I don't think they're going to be. I don't think people are going to want to play them. I'll throw it out there. I'd like to see Rayados win the title. Because specifically because they've been promoting the youth players, and I just really enjoyed the model under Alonso, especially over the last kind of 6 to 9 months. The way that Carlos Rodriguez has come in and just owned that midfield and just looks like not just holding his own but standing out. obviously Jonathan Gonzalez is still getting minutes. Cesar Montes has just absolutely come into his own right now as well. And I just like the way, that Johan Vasquez as well, the left-footed centre-back. I mean, they've got a lot of good young little players, that Eric Cantu, Resendez, I think, as well. I mean, I don't know. I just like the way that Alonso has switched his squad around, and these younger players are getting minutes, where I think it's a real strength that Monterrey has compared to Tigres, for example. Obviously, on the pitch, there's not much between them, but Tigres have struggled to promote those younger players. So I don't know. I think it'd be nice to see a big club like Monterrey, who goes to Argentina, signs an international from there, signs Rodolfo Pizarro, goes out there, but also promotes from within. So I don't know. I like what Monterrey are doing right now, to be honest.
I'm going to stay away from the Monterrey teams, and I've been saying America until about last weekend. Just even as a Leon fan, obviously I want Leon to win, but I got to stay grounded and just kind of say I'm going to continue with America. But now that Leon lost, I feel the pressure hasn't been. It's like, oh, we knew Leon wasn't going to be it. They couldn't beat up miserable Chivas, and I feel like now it's like they'll be under the radar. It's like the pressure won't be there. Although there's a super leader will be there, but I'm going actually. If I have to pick two teams outside of Monterrey, because you guys already picked them, but I'm gonna go with León and Cruz Azul. Like now, no one expects those teams to win. So
yeah, I mean, I think León's interesting. Especially that loss against Chivas. It's almost like I don't know. I can't decide whether it's kind of it's actually going to be good for him because it's kind of like brings you back down to earth and says, you know what, you're a good team, but you're not that good. If you drop like that 2%, then teams are gonna beat you, and better teams than Chivas. You're gonna be facing better teams than Chivas in a couple of weeks' time. On the other hand, is it kind of the bubbles burst, and now kind of they're going to question themselves a little bit? Obviously, if you win 12 straight games in a league that is with such parity as Liga MX, relative parity, then you need a bit of luck along the way as well. And I just wonder, are they going to start questioning whether that's run out right now? I mean, I don't know. It's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch Leon. I mean, and they're already just a brilliant team to watch anyway. So, I can't wait. I can't wait to see who they play. And, I'm sure Cesar over there in Tijuana, if they get the Leon Tijuana with that weird kind of rivalry that exists between those two clubs.
Well, it's a rivalry for Tijuana fans. Not Leon fans. Yeah. It's a rivalry.
I think it's now like we just made it a rivalry now since we talk about that all the time.
MLS rivalries that they just make up.
That's exactly what we have. All right, the question got us in almost 10 minutes in. We'll talk about Liga MX, but today we're going to talk all about jumping with Champions League, on CAF Champions League there. More Monterrey teams talk, right? We'll talk a little bit about Mr. Tom Marshall's travels there. Went to go check out Raul Jimenez, and also big news for Chuky Lozano. As we saw, there was an injury. Hopefully, get some updates here from the guys, and we'll finish it off with Liga MX talk and the playoffs coming up. La Liga. One more week, we'll see. We'll kind of oversee that. Finally something happened that's happiness to Chivas fans, and Adriana's not on the chat on the show, so. We talk about the demise of Chivas fans, but at least you got something. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. Thank you to all our followers on the chat, and obviously you guys that are on our iTunes page listening to us right now. So let's jump in. Nicolas Sanchez scored on a header on the 43rd minute, and Monterrey earned a 1-0 road trip over Tigres on the first leg of the CONCACAF Champions League final last Tuesday. The second legs, total goals here as we played El Primero de Mayo, coming up this week in Monterrey's home stadium, and great stadium, two great teams, great atmosphere. But let's chat. Surprise, Cesar, that Monterrey pulled off a win and kind of kept this giant of a team that's Tigres, that is ready to win this championship. That's what Tuca needs, and are ready to say, hey, we're still the best almost in all the Americas. Take a loss.
I mean, I wasn't that surprised. I mean, as I mentioned last week, I wasn't entirely sure, what side was going to go through. I wasn't entirely sure, if we were even just finished with a draw, because that's actually kind of what I was anticipating. All that said, if you would have asked me if I would have had to, like, for some odd reason, like, bet some money, I would have said that Tigres were to get a narrow win just because of a little bit of that home advantage. And I do think, in my mind, I think Tigres are slightly better, even though Gignac is still not 100%. But it is fairly interesting now, because now Tigres are going to have to bounce back, and there is no away goal rules either. If it's tied on aggregates after the end of 90 minutes on Wednesday night, they're going to go to extra time and then penalties if needed. So it's a little bit of an uphill battle here for Tigres, but I don't know. We'll see if Barovero has another good match, because I feel like even though I didn't catch the entirety of the first game, I showed up a little late. I feel like Barovero had a fantastic evening over there for Monterrey, and I feel like sometimes Barovero hasn't exactly been at the same level as some of his teammates over there with Rayados. So can he do that again? Can he potentially shut out Tigres' attack? And I think another question for Tigres is, can they still potentially get a win this series without Gignac being at 100%? Because it looks like all signs are pointing to him being a bench player once again. He'll probably come off in the second half, or step onto the field in the second half. I think he stepped on the 60th minute in the last game. So I think that's another question to see, the health of Gignac, because clearly he's a very, very important figure for Tigres in this second leg.
I think Gignac's ready. I mean, he went 90 minutes over the weekend. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't. I think he got the 90 minutes because he needed that, because he's going to play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was looking at it today, and Gignac, when he come to the club, Tigres had won 3 Liga MX titles, and they've now won 6.
Mm-hmm.
But as good as it's been, I mean, that's only in 4 years as well. I mean, it is pretty sensational. But with everything that Gignac's achieved and his 100 goals, they've lost the Copa Libertadores final. They've lost 2 CONCACAF Champions League finals.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one thing that Tigres have not won. This is the one thing that Monterrey fans, kind of goad Tigres fans about. Because Monterrey fans go, we won 3 on the consecutive one, 3 on the trot.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys have never won an international trophy. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm absolutely excited about this game. I'm actually going up there tomorrow. And, I just think sometimes obviously I include myself, but sometimes we talk a bit negatively about football in Mexico. And, like today I wrote a column on Veracruz. I mean, there's not much positive thing you can say about Veracruz right now. But you look at this game, the CONCACAF Champions League, final second leg. You look at the stadium it's being played in. You look at the quality of players on that field. And honestly, you struggle, certainly outside of Europe, you're struggling to get a better game, a better occasion, a better, better package in terms of, the passion that's involved as well. And so, I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. I think there's so many factors that go into it. I mean, Diego Alonso has been so criticized this season for kind of sitting back and, holding on to a lead. I mean, will he try and risk that again? I mean, when these teams played in March, that's exactly what happened. Monterrey took the lead in the first half, sat back, invited Tigres on, and Tigres don't need much invitation. Even in the first leg, Tigres, you expect them to dominate at home, but they weren't very far away at all from getting that equalizer. So, I think psychologically as well for Monterrey, with the fact that they've lost, I think 3 of the 4 finals they've played in that stadium. The Apertura 2017, they lost against Tigres. I mean, they missed a penalty. It's almost that kind of psychological edge from the Monterrey team as well. And let's not forget, I mean, Tigres might not have won an international trophy, but Monterrey, I think since 2013 and that CONCACAF Champions League, they've only won 1 Copa MX.
No.
I mean, you look at the investment in this Monterrey squad that's gone on. You look at the stadium that they built. That's not to finish second. That's not to kind of reach the Liga like, some other clubs are happy when they reach the Liga. That's to win trophies. So I think that Monterrey are absolutely desperate as well. And I mean, this all feeds into it just being I don't know, it's just going to be absolutely, for me, it's going to be absolutely brilliant. I think arguably the highest quality CONCACAF Champions League final, we've ever seen. I mean, I can't think of another one with full of such quality.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up sorry. Go ahead, really quick.
No, go ahead, Cesar.
So the thing about Monterrey struggling in those finals too, because I was thinking about that as well, because I saw something from Medio Tiempo. They said that like Tuca is like the king of losing finals. I was like, really? I feel like Monterrey is like the side that's really out there like struggling these kind of situations. But of course, I think Medio Tiempo, they're just looking for clicks or whatnot right there.
And we clicked. I clicked that one as well. I clicked the same story. I was like, he's really the king of losers.
I really thought I was like the only one that clicked on that story going into. I'm like, Cruz Azul going to be mentioned in this story because I thought they were the king of losing finals.
Maybe I just missed all those finals that they lost. But no, I mean, Tuca's record in finals is, I don't think it's the best, but I think he's won like his fair share and he's lost his fair share.
Well, that's what I got out of the article. That's what I got out of the article. It's like wow, Tuca showed up to a lot of finals, not like
there's a lot
of
finals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The problem with that is that Tuca loses another final. And, in the way that, I feel like the Libertadores go back that very first game in the final, that it was like taking advantage of the first game. Granted that it's structured that, Mexico and the Libertadores didn't have, even though we were on the top seed. But, I mean, how huge would it be, Tom, and Cesar? Tuca loses another final. And granted that it's Monterrey and it's playing well and they played them, they're the better team, but that pressure's there.
I think a lot would be forgotten depending on what happens in the playoffs. Yeah, if they'll go to lose another final, yeah, maybe. And of course, you're going to hear, and I think one thing you're going to see a lot from like, I know, America fans and like Chivas fans are like, oh, you're not a true like equipo grande if you're not like doing this kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. But I think a lot would be forgotten, a lot would be forgiven too, depending on the playoff run. But I think that remains to be seen.
Yeah, but it kind of goes back to Utah. I mean, kind of what we said at the beginning of the game. Tom, you're in Mexico. Are people really that hyped up about this final as I guess we are?
I think people in Monterrey are.
Outside of Monterrey.
No.
Is it because they're not that big of a team like everyone, criticizes to them? Because if it was, Cruz Azul America on a final or Chivas, Chivas and America on the Champions League final, even Chivas and Atlas would, if they could ever make it, it's like
ooh, that's not happening. Oh my God.
You feel like it would be a lot more. No one's really talking about it because 14 consecutive Mexico, titles for this. A team's going to come out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think within Mexico, I don't know. I mean, I think what you got to understand is, maybe 90% of the media of this country is based in Mexico City. Mm-hmm. And you look at the tone when they cover the Monterrey clubs, and even when you meet the journalists, it's absolutely hilarious because you've got the Regios and the Chilangos, and the Chilangos, and they just constantly at each other, about your team's rubbish, the team's up here, they're just like the Provincia, and they're coming out with all these things, and then the Regios are like, they're such proud people. I mean, possibly from my experience, the kindest people in Mexico. I mean, honestly, you go there and if there's someone they won't let you pay for food. I don't know, but they're very like kind of proud people. True. Very like, we're from the north, this is our city, we've got the best teams in the land. And obviously the people in oh yeah, you're gonna do a Game of Thrones there.
Cesar was smiling. I think he was going, even though he doesn't watch it.
Wait, what? Sorry. Oh, I missed it. I saw something. I don't...
But yeah, I mean, they want to be kings of the north, and and obviously the Mexico City, not just the clubs, but I feel like the media outlets and the journalists don't want to give the Monterrey clubs the credit they've deserved for not just for trophies or whatever, just what they've achieved. I mean, that Monterrey stadium is absolutely unbelievable, and if Tigres could, they'd build an absolutely unbelievable stadium as well. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they will in the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, they've got plans to do it. So yeah, but it's interesting though. There is that kind of friction, and I think it feeds off into the coverage. I mean, I think from an editor based in Mexico City, it's a lot easier to kind of get something through about Pumas or Cruz Azul, when really, Tigres and Monterrey are, I don't know, for me the bigger story right now.
Yeah, you're actually completely true. If I look at all the journalists that I meet from Monterrey, the Regios, are super nice journalists. I totally agree. I could think of a few that are not that the people in Mexico City are not, but they do have that. So it's kind of funny because you're not seeing it from the MLS, right? Or anybody in the United States. Kind of like MLS is not there, so CONCACAF isn't really.
Yeah, just one quick other point. I think this final as well is kind of for people watching in MLS, watching on Wednesday. It's like this is where you got to be.
Mm-hmm.
This is the level.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about the developing the league, becoming one of the best in the world. Look at this game in Monterrey. I mean, like I said before, Liga MX has got its problems, but this game for me on Wednesday is like almost the ideal advert for the league and for Mexican football. I mean, like I said, you're not going to find many games outside of Europe with this quality. I don't think you'd find any, to be honest. In terms of quality of players, quality of stadium, quality of atmosphere. I mean, this is something Mexican football. This finally is something for me Mexican football should be proud of, to be honest.
And no one's talking about it.
Hey, we're talking about it though, right? There we go. Yeah.
I guess outside when we look at it. I mean, we see that. So to ask, Tigres down 1-0 against a really good Monterrey team. Is it going to happen? Because I think we all kind of said that Tigres will want, we're hoping that Tigres will get the win. Duke could get the final win. It'd be massive. We all kind of picked Tigres to hopefully make it. On a personal note, we'd want Tigres to win. But now, down 1-0.
I think it's not really going to provide any more answers. But I think that Tigres might. I'm going to say Monterrey might go with the same approach they used in the second half of that last game. Maybe be a little bit more practical. They don't have to push forward nearly as much. They have a little bit of a lead there. Tigres get a goal there, and then it goes to extra time, and then I say it goes to penalties, and we'll see what happens right there. That's what I say. I think it's going to extra time, penalties, and that'll decide who will be the CCL title winner this year.
All right.
If it goes to penalties, Tigres are going to win.
All right.
There we go. Take it to the bank.
Take it to the BBVA Bancomer Bank.
Take it to Banco Mexico. No, but no, it should be good. But yeah, what's next up?
All right, thank you, Tom. Cut off there. Let's go. Let's
beautiful transition.
Great transition. Let's jump into the Mexican national team.
Always smooth.
Taking the Mexican national team. Some in and U.S. and everyone involved in the what people call the Mole Tour and all that like to give us 4 days in advance to be at a random city in the United States to have a press conference. I think we got the communication on Wednesday, maybe of last week, Thursday possibly.
Yeah. Got that
by the way,
last week, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, if you're in Atlanta on Monday, and we're looking at for our editors or anybody that's says yes, you can go and cover the game. It's kind of hard to get a yes and a turnaround in that quickly. But anyway, if you didn't know, there's a press conference with Tata Martino. It was in Atlanta, right? Yeah, Atlanta, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
In Atlanta, and talking about obviously the game that's going to be happening right before the Gold Cup. And Cesar, Tom, any highlights? I know they were asked about certain players that were there, but what's probably the highlight from the press conference today?
I think for me, it was definitely the Lozano talk, because I think there was a lot of worry over the weekend. I mean, you saw. I mean, if you guys haven't seen it, I mean, actually, if you haven't seen it, go look at. Don't look it up. Actually, it's a little painful. I thought he was definitely going to be out for quite some time, and then the report came out saying that it was a knee injury, that he's going to be out for the rest of the season. Yeah, rest of the season, essentially just only a couple of games. Yeah, but you did worry about him a little bit, but that didn't really seem phased by. He seemed to have a little bit of confidence that Chuky is going to come back. He seemed pretty positive about him being healthy enough for the tournament, but he did say that he wouldn't risk an injury for him. So he's going to force him on the field, obviously, if he doesn't have to be on the field. But I think regarding that, though, I mean, you could still have him as a part of the 23, not play him during the group stage, have him as a backup, but then utilize him during the knockout round. So I think that's how I feel personally as a Mexico fan in that kind of situation. I don't think they didn't necessarily need him during the group stage, but I think that's what stood out to me the most was that talk regarding Lozano. And I think according to Univision, I think they said that he's going to be out for about 6 weeks. I mean, who knows how that injury is going to change or if he's going to recuperate a little bit more quickly. But if it is 6 weeks, that means he's going to be ready right before the Gold Cup starts. So I think that was worth noting right there.
Well, we'll kind of discuss a little more about Chuky and that and where everyone feels on that. But yeah, I think it was a good time for the media to kind of just ask Tata about some certain players. I think Carlos Vela was also mentioned there. Tom, to you, what stood out from the press conference?
No, yeah, I think Lozano, and I think the Vela thing about him. He's obviously still looking at Vela. He's not surprised about his form. I don't think anybody who knows Vela is surprised about his form, to be honest. You know what I mean? I think if some people actually watched him for Real Sociedad, then you know what he's capable of. He's just got it all together, which is great to see. He mentioned Oriol Antuna as well. He said he's watching him, which I think is interesting. Obviously praised Atlanta. I think they're going to play. They're going to play on the artificial turf. I think Tata's kind of agreed to that. And what else?
It was a lot of Atlanta talk. I mean, like if you watch a press conference, like the first 7 or 8 questions were. I mean, it makes sense. The games in Atlanta. He was a former Atlanta United coach, so there are a lot of people asking about Atlanta. And so I think there was even like one question from a journalist to be like, are there favorite spots of yours in Atlanta that you miss? Like, what do you miss about Atlanta? So
you're right. You're there. You're obviously going to go to the press conference of your former coach, and you got to get a story going. Of course, you're going to ask him those questions. Like, it was kind of cool to see that and he was enjoying it too. You know what I mean?
It was just kind of funny, just being like a question in Spanish and being like, "Oh, Chuky Lozano." Another guy's like, what spots do you miss from Atlanta?
The Coke factory, Coca-Cola factory. We'll see that. That's good. It was.
I think really quick. I think he did also bring up Tecatito as well as a potential option as well. The players that he highlighted as well. And I think if I remember correctly in the press conference, he did say that. I mean, it's not a surprise, but most of the roster will be made up of players that he's already called up. But I think we could have all predicted that. But
Chicharito as well. So he's got to talk to him about the family issue. I think his wife's due to give birth during the Gold Cup, so obviously he needs to sort that out. But with regards to Lozano, I mean, Tata said, we're not going to rush him if he's not available, and I think there's no. I mean, I wouldn't have any problems with Lozano missing this summer. If he's in doubt and just having a summer off. He played the last World Cup. Trying to organising that move, going to a new club, starting the pre-season on time, being there right at the start. I'd have absolutely no problem with that, to be honest.
I would also have no problem with him just being on the bench until he's ready. If it's like the semi-final match,
no one's gonna. I don't think anybody's gonna. I don't think that Martinez is gonna rush him. And I think this is where we kind of go where I think they know what they're doing. And if they're saying it's it's two games and it's not till June. I mean, they got a whole month plus. So I feel like if I think Chuky Lozano is going to be playing in the Gold Cup, and if there were already talks where they wouldn't, I think they would have already voiced that he's going to be out until next season. The club would have already said that or already have plans to do that. So I feel like like you said, Cesar, if he's not going to play, if he's not ready, get him in maybe in the quarterfinals or in the semifinals. I think he'll be sprinkled in there, and it's perfect time during those 3 games to give him the minutes. At the same time, you don't want him to start with no games in the quarterfinal or in the semifinal. You got to have those minutes coming up when you're coming from injury. So
I'd just rather him not be there
at all.
Okay.
No, just because looking longer term. Well, firstly, I think Tata Martino. I think with him, it's black and white. You're either there and you're ready, or you're not. So I doubt whether Tata's gonna, unless Lozano can prove he's fit in those by those friendly games. I don't know. We'll see how Tata actually implements it. But for me personally, I'd just leave Lozano. If he's not there, give him a summer off. I mean, this is a guy. I think long term Mexico will benefit from that more than him playing a quarterfinal and semi-final. And potentially a final in the Gold Cup. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess obviously, there's a need to win the Gold Cup. Mexico didn't win the last one. It was pretty much a disaster, the last one with the B team. But I don't know. Mexico can get the job done without Lozano, but I don't know.
Feel like he's a young guy. I don't feel Lozano's being like, Giovanni or any of, very injury prone. Remember last time Chuky was injured. If he's ready to play and it's 100%, keep going. You know what I mean?
Like, if he's 100%, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think.
The other thing is, this is a massive, massive summer for him because everything's pointing towards him leaving now. I mean, this after 2 years at PSV, he's done everything asked of him. This is the time now to move on. He's a great age. He's established in Europe. His family's over there, and it's like, okay. I'm just looking around and thinking potential club. Okay, he's coming back from injury, and then in June, and then till the end of till the first week of July, he's not going to have a break, and then after that he's going to need a break, and then he's going to miss the preseason. It's just like I don't know. If that's the case and he's not going to be there for the start of the Gold Cup, I think I prefer just take those weeks off, get with that preseason. I mean, imagine if he's in a generally elite club, which I think we all hope for. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends. I tend to agree that I don't think the injury is going to be that serious. To be honest, I think he'll be. Yeah. I think he'll prove his fitness before the tournament.
That would be pretty funny. Oh no, funny is probably not the word, but I mean, I expect Tecatito and Vela to be there, but for whatever reason, I'll just say for some odd reason, like Tecatito and Vela aren't there. Diego Lainez is at the U20 World Cup. Lozano's injured.
Chicharito can't do it because he's got his kid.
He's like, imagine with the front line. I mean, I guess you still have Raul Jimenez, Pizarro, and
I don't know
what we're gonna be.
Yeah.
There a game. Yeah.
I think it would have already been communicated if he would have missed the Gold Cup. I don't think it's as serious as it is. He's going to take these next 2 games, and I think he'll be playing. I think he'll do well. I think he'll score. I think it's going to be a great summer for Chuky Lozano, and hopefully we get that jump to a team. If and we'll start a great 2019 for him in the fall. So.
So if you're listening, I'm eligible. I have yet to commit to the U.S. or Mexico. I play great. You can come watch me play some pickup games.
Whoa, there's a question inside it?
If the U.S. comes a knocking, man, I gotta think about my career. I mean, I know I have the Mexican flag behind me.
Have you seen?
I just want to spot in the world.
Anyone that's taken over the U.S. Has anyone done well for the U.S. team? That's actually something that's trying to look back at.
If they want me in the next World Cup, I think about it. You heard me, Berhalter.
Tom plays for Mexico he's got his passport already, his Mexican passport. So we'll go with that.
He's been there 5+ years.
I'll play for England, no problem. All right. Let's. We're already talking about the Mexicans abroad with Chuky and obviously his injury. Yeah, don't go watch it. It's definitely when all that was happening. I just kind of go, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's one of those things I didn't want any more news about it, and until because definitely wanted to be there, see him, and playing with Mexico and seeing what he does in the Gold Cup. But let's talk about Mr. Raul Jimenez, who has tied Chicharito for most goal in a single Premier League. How many more games does he have? Cesar,
he has two games. Yeah, he has 2 more games left, but he's definitely had a lot more minutes than Chicharito did in that first season. But it's not to underscore that. I mean, it's still very, very, very impressive. But yeah,
no, and it is extremely impressive. And you kind of look at that, right? And to kind of put it in perspective, it kind of highlights what Chicharito did in that season too. Mm-hmm. And all what we're seeing him. And for those of you that have forgotten, this was with Manchester United. This is a person that didn't get. Had to prove himself and took, Berbatov's spot, and everyone was like, wow, this guy was scoring at the rate that Jimenez, and I obviously believe that Jimenez will get, one, if not one, if more goals than one in the next 2 games. But it's kind of cool to see, it's taken Raul Jimenez this to tie him, and Raul Jimenez has been scoring nonstop. It was cool to see that year where Chicharito had that year. So, but great for Mr. Raul Jimenez. Records are meant to be broken, and if I had to say, it'd be great. I mean, in form coming out, after Wolves buying him, and just amazing what's happening there. If you taking a look at that last that last game where the video where everyone's just chanting about Jimenez, and it just kind of gives you goosebumps. I think I watched that over and over and over in that video that's come out. But the Mexican Soccer Show always finds a way to give you some information. Mr. Tom Marshall was there in the last week there, and got a really cool video of some Wolves fans and the way that they are just in love and just infatuated with our Mexican superstar. But Tom, you went to a game, you got to cover it, you talked to fans there at the Wolves. Tell us a little bit about what we don't see, especially when we're so far away.
No, yeah, I mean they've obviously just taken to him. I mean, it helps when he's banging in the goals like he has. Obviously that's the starting point. But I don't know. I mean, I think it's more than that. I think that is the way he works on the field. That's a similarity with Chicharito as well. I think Manchester United fans love Chicharito because he would chase down any loose ball, and he'd leave it all on the field. So I think that's important to stress. But I think off the field as well. I mean, he apparently stops to sign autographs. Obviously the mascara thing that he put on. I mean, that was just massive news in England. That was just absolutely huge, all over the place. And then Troy Deeney from Watford kind of called him a loser, and it became like this big thing. But yeah, I mean, I met a group of fans that are selling masks for charity and raising money for like local hospitals and different charities around the Wolverhampton area. So yeah, I mean, he's just, I don't know, they absolutely love him, and but he's also, I think he's engaged right now, and him and his fiance have kind of visited like the local things. I mean, like the Warwick Castle's near there. Mm-hmm. I think there's like a safari park. There's like a park near there. I mean, Wolverhampton, it's not, a really nice place. I mean, it's not, you're not in London, you're not living the high life in London, you're not, even in Manchester, so in the south of Manchester, there's an area where all the players live, basically, from City, United, even Liverpool clubs sometimes. But I mean, Wolverhampton's very much like kind of an old industrial city, but he seems to have taken to it. You know what I mean? He seems to have kind of struck a chord with those fans, and it's a really, really good club. I was really impressed with how they did things, and I don't know. It's just when you move to Europe like that. I mean, Raúl Jiménez is a great example. That you go to Atletico Madrid, you don't find your home. You go to Benfica, and he doesn't quite fit, and he suddenly just turns up at Wolves, and it just clicks. You know what I mean? The manager's in place. The manager's in place with the right system. The fan base is behind you. The fan base is also a club that like kind of feeds off a number 9. Like Steve Bull's one of the legendary players there, and they really struggled to find a number 9 over recent years. So it's almost like Raúl Jiménez fits into that kind of context, that they were looking for number 9, and Raúl Jiménez has kind of just appeared. So yeah, they just absolutely love him.
There's something really appealing too about that unanimous support behind him. Like if you see Jimenez, I mean, just for example, maybe I'm just spending way too much on Twitter, but you see any post from Jimenez in Spanish, like on Twitter, and you'll see like Mexican fans calling him out. Mexican fans say like blah blah this and that. So like maybe it has a lot to do with his association with Club America. But then you see the way that everybody in Wolves just completely adores him, just completely like loves that guy. And it's so, I don't know. I think it's really cool just from somebody who's watching from afar. And like we even talk about some of the stuff that Tom got over there with like some of the footage of that one kid with the tiny like Mexico jersey. Like I thought that was incredibly cool. And that's just so incredibly cool to see that from afar. I mean, just to see the amount of support that's behind Raúl Jiménez. So I don't know. I think if Jimenez can win them over like that, I don't know. I wonder about what can Lozano potentially do for a bigger team? What could Eric Gutierrez, if he gets more minutes? What would happen if he was to go to a bigger club? And like you mentioned, Tom, just like I don't know, you talk about someone like Chicharito and the way that he really presents like Mexicans in this good way that the lot of like fans from abroad will learn someone like him. I don't know. I'm really. Long story short, I'm excited to see like a bigger name like a Chuky, like a Gutierrez, maybe even see someone like in Liga MX make the move to a European club, and just to see the reception they receive as opposed to a lot of the criticism that they tend to get in Mexico.
Yeah, well, I mean,
this is how we are. It's like you're getting criticism in anything, but then the minute that it's like the typical fan would be like criticize Jimenez, right? I'm not saying that we are or not, but let's just say, what he's doing or whatever. But the minute someone says anything wrong about him, if somebody else criticizes him, like, Watford player and how you said he's a loser, death threats. I mean, and all of Mexico was just enraged at the fact that he called him a loser and all this other stuff. And I mean, there was like, I believe it. Like, when he said that there were death threats and racist and all these comments, I'm just like, as much as I don't want to believe it, like, yeah, there's people que se le pasó, that went off on him and messaged him and saying all that. But I guess he has a history of kind of being like that player. And so it's kind of funny in how we're that way. It's like we're super defensive, but we're also very critical. We'll do that.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Any other stories on Mexicans abroad that we should know?
If I remember correctly, someone correct me if I'm wrong on this, but if they maintain the 7th spot EPL table, and if Man City won the FA Cup title, that means that Wolves would therefore qualify for the Europa League, right? I feel like that's something that I keep on reading. So I think that's a huge opportunity for them right now. I think they have a 3-point lead. They have a 3-point cushion right there in 7th place. And that would be huge for Jimenez. If they can qualify for the Europa League, it's not the Champions League, but for someone who was basically a substitute, a backup for Benfica not too long ago, to someone who could potentially be a key player for them in a Europa League run, I think that's pretty exciting. And I'm always very, very excited to see more Mexican players in the Champions League, the Europa League. So I think that'd be very, very cool to see if they can push for that and potentially hold on to the 7th spot. And if Man City win it, that they could qualify for the Europa League. I don't know. We'll see what happens at the end of the season here.
Sorry, guys. My my earbuds ran out of battery and I couldn't hear you guys anymore, so I have to switch it. My bad. So I didn't listen to what you said. So yes, Europa League, right? That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it would be good. It's just, there is a thing in England though. There's a feeling that clubs that go in the Europa League, because the schedule is so demanding, and a lot of the time you're traveling to Eastern Europe and places, it does take it out of teams. So I don't know, that's the negative side. But I don't know if Wolves play like they're playing. I mean, Wolves I was highly impressed watching them live, and obviously watching them this season. It just feels like a team that can do a bit of everything. It's like if you want to, they can be physical. They're dangerous from set pieces. They're very, very well organized defensively, but also they can play. Like they've got players like Neves and Moutinho who can act really good on the ball. So I don't know. It's just such a well-balanced team. I think Nuno Espirito Santo has done. I mean, he's just done an absolutely amazing job to get him up into 7th. I mean, it's not normal that you get promoted and then you finish 7th.
I was listening to one podcast. It was kind of fun the way that they were talking about Wolves. They were saying like they've already done the difficult task of figuring out how to beat the big teams. Now their homework next season is just to figure out how to beat the small teams. Like that, like that's, and if they can figure out how to beat those small teams, they could potentially move a little bit higher up the league table. It's just kind of interesting to think about, because usually it's flipped around the other. It's flipped around the other way. So I think
they've got money as well. I mean, yeah, they got money. I mean, that's the catch-22 situation with with a team like that. I mean, when you have to chase a game, it's more difficult than for example, against Arsenal, sitting back, picking your moment, and just being really intelligent in the way you manage the game. Compared to, I think the week before they played Brighton and it was 0-0, and they just couldn't break them down. I mean, it's just like it's so different the way that you approach the game that I think they have struggled with that a little bit.
All right, we'll see what happens. Will he get that record and beat Chicharito? I believe so, in the way that he's in fine form. But let's jump into Liga MX to close the segment. One more week, and it all boils down to where Cesar is at. Cesar, there with Tijuana and Puebla, and we'll see who's going to take that A spot. Matches around coming up this week that's important. You got Veracruz with all the problems. Club América, Cruz Azul, Monarcas, León, Pachuca, Tigres versus Guadalajara, Necaxa, Querétaro, Club Tijuana versus Puebla, Atlas, Monterrey, Toluca, Lobos, and Santos with Pumas there. But to you guys, the highlights, we already talked a little bit about Leon, kind of making sure that they feel a little grounded. As soon as you tweeted that, Tom, take it to the bank, they're going to tie. I was going to reply, I think they're losing. I think they're losing. I was driving, and I was like, I think they're going to lose. Like, I just feel it's cheap. I don't know why. It was kind of like, I was kind of like, you know what? If it was a team that they were going to lose to, why not just have Chivas?
But it's almost like, even though Chivas are out the playoff race and, obviously nothing to play for apart from the, next season's relegation, it's almost like there was so much criticism leading up to that game of Chivas, of Tomas Boy, of the players. It's almost like it just came down so hard that you were like, there's going to be a reaction here. They can't not react. I mean, as professional football players, you have to react to being kicked so hard in the press. And I just felt like, I think they're going to show up. And then you look at it from Leon's point of view and you're like, I know there's a lot of Leon Stadium, but you're already top of the league.
You already got the record.
I'm not saying that. Yeah, they've already got the record. I'm not saying they dropped by, they dropped and they weren't interested. But, if you drop, 1%, then a lot of the time at the top level, you're going to suffer for it. And I feel like that might have fed into that result as well.
Yeah, and I think, looking at at Leon, I don't think anybody is like, see, we told you, you got beat by the worst team. I think it was going to happen. I mean, even when I talk to people that don't follow Liga MX in other leagues, and I had a conversation over the weekend, and it's like, win 13 games in a row anywhere in the world is hard, and you kind of look at that. They're in the record books. They did it. Now they're going to go to the playoffs and Liguilla. I'm fine as a Leon fan. I'm not like, we could have kept going and really showed everybody an historic team. And I'm like, we did it. It happened. And we'll see where it goes and continue.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't actually get a chance to watch the game, so I'm not entirely sure what happened to the details of that match. But I feel like this could still be good for Leon. I mean, we've talked about them getting that loss out of the way. If they continued that winning streak into the playoffs, people would keep wondering, like, what is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? But now, in a sense, you can say, there is no Liga MX team that is perfect out there. Every Liga MX team has their weaknesses, whether they. Maybe with some teams like Monterrey and Tigres, they're very, very small weaknesses. But maybe for a side like Leon, it's better for them now to kind of reevaluate and just kind of see where they potentially have some faults and see how they could potentially improve ahead of the playoffs. Once again, I didn't get a chance to watch the game over the weekend, but I feel like it's good to have this, to get this loss out of the way, because I think it's inevitable in Liga MX. So I don't know. I think it's good to have that still in the regular season.
Yeah, I think Chivas is going to be fascinating as well. This off-season, pretty clear they have to do something. And all the signs all the noises coming out of the club are that, the stuff going on in terms of restructuring, possibly, new players coming in, players being sold. But, they need to get it right now, because once again, they're in this kind of relegation trouble. And I don't know, it's not easy to get out of, is it? Yeah, for a club that size, it's just... It's not good at all, is it? I don't know. It's pretty embarrassing, to be honest.
Tom, they got the 3 points. What are you talking about? They got the win.
Tomas Boy is definitely staying then after that. Yeah. The Tomas Boy appointment as well. I've not been on the show, but it was just like, for me, for someone, who's watching Chivas, and I can imagine for fans as well, I don't know, for me, it just struck me as like a club that you don't know where you're going. You know what I mean? You don't really know where you're going. You don't have a plan. You're in trouble, and you're just kind of scrambling around for an answer, rather than a club that you can see is going to he's going somewhere. He's moving ahead, moving forward. You know what I mean? I don't know. And it's like now this thing of, it's temporary, but now is he going to kind of get the job full time? It's like, I don't know. I hope Chivas have got, in Higuera, I hope they've got a proper plan about the next, 5 years, because I don't know. It's just the Mexican game needs Chivas, to be doing well, to be honest. It's just such a big club. It gets everybody pumped up. And when this is going on, it's just like, I don't know. No one's talking about the CONCACAF Champions League final because everyone's talking about how bad Chivas are. And it's, I don't know. But then again, they did win, didn't they, Cesar?
Well, Tom, it depends on the region, right? Like right, like if you're around from Monterrey, you know, they'd be talking about the CCL, but you know, I guess it's just because your perspective from Central Mexico, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, no, but even in Mexico City, I mean, I don't know. You know, even in Mexico City, they just, I don't know. I find that, you know, Chivas does kind of reach over there as well, obviously. But yeah, I think the Mexico City Monterrey thing is quite interesting though.
Poor Wisa, though. We're not even giving Leon enough credit.
It's all right. I have yet to complain about the credit because I always feel when we start giving credit, they just do crappy. So I'm fine not talking about Leon ever in the show. My superstition of saying that we're good, but we'll see. Interesting enough that you know, in the top 10 outside of Leon, everyone either got a win or a tie. You know, the teams like Cruz Azul, Pachuca, Club America, Tijuana that were, you know, moving. You know, they needed those win, even, you know, Necaxa with a tie, and the Tigres teams, even though tying, but, you know, doing it. But it's going to look like, especially Tijuana with that 4 win, you know, four goals, really making it in, trying to get that 8th. And I think it would be interesting if they do get that final ace. But I think you said Xolos squeezing in, and Adriana, I believe she said Toluca squeezing in, if I'm not mistaken, from last week.
Yeah, but Toluca are officially out.
Yeah, now. Yeah, so they're done. So well, I think it all looks for Tijuana to go in, and it's interesting enough on how it's going to happen. So we'll see what can, especially, you know, I love the Tijuana fan base. I think it'd be great for them to have, and you know, I think it'd be fun, and it comes into that Puebla Tijuana game on Saturday. That's gonna be really good.
Yeah. So for those wondering, so basically 78 playoff spots are essentially set. No, not essentially, they are set.
Yeah, they're set.
And that final spot is between Xolos and Puebla, who just happen to be going up against each other on Saturday night. Yeah, most weekends you look at Xolos Puebla and you're like, I'm sure a lot of Liga Mecky fans will be like, might not watch that, might not pay attention, but you definitely have to keep it out on this game this weekend, because essentially that's going to define that final spot in the playoffs. This will be interesting, especially since you have someone like Oscar Pareja, you know, first Liga Mecky season. You have someone who has been associated with FC Dallas for quite some time, and there are a lot of questions regarding Pareja, whether he can adapt to Liga Mecky style play, will he be able to do well in Liga Meckis, but he's so far exceeded expectations because they had a decent Copa Meckis run too. So it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens. I think Xolos still have the upper hand, but Puebla also shouldn't be taken lightly. They definitely should be taken lightly at all. I mean, you saw them get the 1-1 draw against Tigres recently. They got that second half goal, which kept their playoff hopes alive. Maybe Tigres were maybe focusing a little bit more mentally on the CCL, but that should be overlooked. But yeah, that Saturday night game in Tijuana is gonna be very, very fascinating to see how that one goes.
And it looks like León, I mean, and Tigres stay on 1 and 2 with 38 and 34 points. Then you got Monterrey, Cruz Azul, Pachuca, Necaxa, America, and I guess even, you know, Tijuana with 25 points, 25 to 30 points there that can kind of move things around if we see maybe Pachuca, Cruz Azul, you know, win, and let's say Monterrey doesn't. So it's, you know, the top 8 from 3 to 8 can totally be different. So the only thing that's León and Tigres are ready to go. So
yeah, and really quickly on Pachuca. So right now, so you're looking at the 4 Liga Meckis teams who have yet to get a single away win all season. That's Morelia, that's Veracruz, that's Querétaro. Obviously, all teams are struggling, and then you have Pachuca, Pachuca, who've already qualified for the playoffs. They're going against León this weekend. León are going to be the favorites. They're probably going to win that match. So Pachuca are potentially going to, not potentially, they're going to go, likely going to go into the playoffs without a single away win. I don't think they're going to get an away win this weekend. So that's definitely kind of fascinating, and that makes me think twice about that team, especially in those 2-legged series.
Well, it's funny because if Pachuca wins, they could get that 4th spot, and you know, and then it'd be interesting after, you know, if in this quarterfinals or semifinals, you know, it's maybe like a Pachuca León with the same owner. So actually, we'll see. I hopefully, you know, I didn't want Xolos to win because just to the rivalry that you have, I feel like León, you know, if they lost against Xolos, and Xolos has had a number on them, but it'd be interesting to see I might take a look to see if I can try to go over there and meet you.
Oh yeah,
At Cholos match. I mean, it'll be it's close here to where I'm at, so we'll go.
Some pregame tacos, man. Yeah,
we'll do that. All right, guys, we're gonna very first for us. We got everything in. We're gonna end a little bit early. I'll give you guys some time back in this Monday night football that we're doing. We'll continue. Thank you so much for all that you guys do, all your questions that bring in for all of us and the support that you guys have. Continue to listen there on iTunes for all of you guys to listen to us and give us some questions that you do have here with the Mexican Soccer Show. We're going to say thank you so much to Tom for coming in on his day back, jet lag and all. When we come back, I don't know if you are. So, and then Mr. Cesar there in San Diego, Tijuana.
Yeah.
We'll do that. Thank you again to Amy for producing the show, giving us all our talking points and getting us all ready for this great episode. And we'll be back next Monday here on the Mexican Soccer Show, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Hasta la próxima.
See you guys later.